All right, welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to look at Los Angeles from a pretty different and honestly kind of unsettling perspective. We're going to see it not just as a city, but as a living, sprawling organism.
Yeah, I know that's a pretty provocative question, right? But just stick with me here, because once you start looking at satellite images and maps to the LA basin, this weirdly powerful metaphor, it actually starts to make a ton of sense.
See, when you zoom out, like way out, Los Angeles stops looking like a city you'd see in a textbook, with these clean, defined borders. Instead, it starts to look like this biological mass, an organism with these ragged, irregular edges and little tendrils of development that just seem to crawl out along the freeways. It's this pattern of just completely uncontrolled growth.
Okay, so let's really dive into the anatomy of this thing. We're going to break down 5 key observations that make this biological comparison feel, well, so creepily accurate.
All right, first up, LA doesn't have a clear boundary. I mean, just look at a map. The city proper just bleeds seamlessly into dozens of other places. You got Santa Monica, Pasadena, Inglewood, the Valley. They all just kind of merge together into this one continuous urban tissue. The shape it creates feels less like a city somebody planned and, a lot more like a metastasis.
Okay, number 2, the freeways. You have to look at the freeway system. From way up high, it stops looking like just roads, like simple infrastructure. It starts looking like this huge, sprawling circulatory web, almost like a vascular network that's designed to feed this massive growing thing. And the visual parallel here is, you can't deny it. You see the freeway interchange, and then you see a biological circulatory system right next to it. The branching patterns, the loops, they're almost identical. It's wild. These concrete arteries are literally what's allowing the urban tissue to spread outward.
Third thing to notice is the density. LA has this really dense core mass, right? Think downtown, Hollywood, the West Side. And from that center, you have these lower density areas just radiating outwards. So it's not some uniform grid, it's a gradient. And that structure? It's strikingly similar to how tumors show up in medical scans. You get that dense, concentrated center, and then these irregular, less dense edges that look like they're actively spreading. It's just another layer to this whole uncanny comparison. And hey, this isn't just about the physical shape on a map. When you start looking at other kinds of data, I'm talking nighttime light maps, urban heat island charts, even pollution plumes, the metaphor gets even stronger. All of those visuals just reinforce the sense of a living, breathing, growing mass whose signature is just everywhere.
And finally, number 5, you've got the geography, the mountains, the San Gabriels, the Santa Monicas, and of course the Pacific Ocean. They basically act like the walls of a giant petri dish. So the growth just fills up all the flat space it can find until it smacks into one of these natural barriers. And what does it do then? It's forced to spread sideways, filling in every single nook and cranny. It's a classic case of constrained growth.
So, okay, what's the point of all this? Is it just a cool visual analogy? Well, no. All these observations tie directly into a really big idea in urban theory. And that idea is growth without a plan.
The fancy term for this is emergent, decentralized expansion. All that really means is that the city grows organically, right? It happens through this slow pileup of different parts. That process is called accretion, instead of from some big, single, top-down plan. To put it simply, it grows, it isn't built. And this is the crucial takeaway. This whole thing isn't just some quirky visual trick I'm showing you. No, urban theorists actually use these biological metaphors. They talk about tumors, coral reefs, even slime molds, to understand how certain cities evolve when there's no central plan driving how they're shaped.
In Los Angeles, it is probably the world's most famous, absolute textbook example of this kind of emergent growth. Its shape, the way it works, it's all the result of millions and millions of individual decisions, all piling up over 100 years, creating this sprawling, living thing that we see today.
So that leaves us with a pretty big, thought-provoking question, doesn't it? If a city like LA really does grow more like a living thing than a machine, well, shouldn't that completely change how we think about managing it? Can you really plan an organism? Or do you have to find a way to, guide its growth in a totally different way? It's a question that really challenges the whole foundation of how we think about urban planning.